All right, so I actually wanted to talk about a book that I am rereading that I read years ago. It's by Kenny Werner, and it was written in 1996. It's called Effortless Mastery: Liberating the Master Musician Within. And so there's a couple of key concepts in this book, and it's again, it's not a book on theory, it's not a book on technique. It's actually one of those life changing books that, to be honest with you, it's very applicable not only to musicians but just in life in general, to academics, to your work, to professional life. If you're an athlete, anybody who has some activities, whether you're a hobbyist, a professional that wants to get better at it, I just really encourage them to kind of get a copy of this book. So, what is it about? So he starts off with, I guess you can kind of think about it in a couple of different subtopics. Starts off with what you'd call the journey of a musician, and I'll read a little bit about it. The book begins with Warner's personal experience of struggling with performance anxiety and the fear of not being good enough. Okay. Um, and again, Kenny Werner he was a pianist and stuff. So it's one of those things that a lot of musicians sort of, I wouldn't say sort of, they actually feel not being good enough. But it's something not only musicians, that people in general, whether it be athletics, you always think that you're not good enough. In fact, that fear in and of itself is one of those fears that actually drives you to perfection, I believe. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. If you think you're good enough, usually you won't practice and you will not, accomplish a lot of things. So that's the journey of the musician. He talks about that fear of not being good enough. It's a state of mind, and the thing is, you want to be able to perform at your peak and at your best. So he talks about ways to kind of address this. One of them is overcoming what he calls the inner critic. Okay. So Warner contends that the voice is responsible for much of the anxiety and self-doubt musicians experience. He offers a series of mental exercises and approaches designed to help musicians silence this inner critic and perform from a place of freedom and joy. So it's kind of funny about this whole concept of inner critic, which is really our self-doubt. I see this a lot with musicians, and It's kind of interesting. I started this YouTube channel because I didn't care. I'm a hobbyist. My friends who are actual real musicians who've paid good money and have gone to conservatory and trying to make a living out of it, I always say, hey, why don't you have a YouTube channel? Why don't you put up your music? Why don't you do all of this stuff? A lot of it is this whole notion of self doubt, and it's this whole inner critic. They are afraid of being judged, afraid of, hey, I'm playing the wrong changes, I'm playing the wrong chord, my guitar's not tuned, my piano, my horn. So all of this negativity or this perception of negativity, that's what we have to overcome. So it's overcoming that inner critic. And he has a couple of exercises and things that you can do to overcome that. So again, overcoming it is not about being so technically proficient that you're just a technical phenom. So he goes on to talk about this. He says to playing from the heart. So you've got overcoming that inner critic. And then he talks a little bit about playing from the heart. He goes, as we delve deeper, he argues that music is a language of emotions and that our primary goal as musicians should be to convey these emotions to our audience. By playing from the heart and letting go of the need for approval, we can achieve a level of musical expression that transcends technical ability. To me, that's very, very key. We spend so much of our time woodshedding that we think that if we have technical proficiency, that's going to be the panacea and it's going to solve everything. Whereas there has to be a nexus between the technical ability and your emotions and playing from the heart. So he talks about that and having exercises where you're able to do that. So what is this path to effortless mastery? So he says that it involves a series of mental shifts and practices, including embracing the unknown, letting go of the need for control, and surrendering to the music. So that whole concept of surrendering to the music is very, very, very key, because at the end of the day, it is about the music and it's about self-expression. And so at some level, I guess you're a master musician and you can say you're a studio musician if you can play a lot of stuff you don't like, but you have the technical abilities and stuff. So, but in any event, though, it's about a mind-body connection and connecting with the technical abilities as well. So it's a great, great read, and I definitely urge people to kind of get a hold of this book, read it. Would love to hear your feedback if you haven't read that book. But like I said, that book is not only about music. It's written within the context of music or for musicians, but it's applicable to just life in general. All right, then. Thank you again for watching. And as usual, continue to practice, practice, and practice some more, because you still have to practice. It's not just about mind games or just connecting that. So there has to be some technical abilities, and there has to be some work and woodshedding put in order to get to that level. All right, then. Have a great weekend.